Welcome to the channel. Hit subscribe and dive into stories that'll stay with you long after the video ends. Let's begin. Rain pressed against the windows like a restless crowd inside the restaurant. Everything glittered. The cutlery, the chandeliers. Her eyes. Clara sat across from him, her pulse drumming in her ears. Ethan, the man she'd met only weeks ago, yet who somehow felt like someone she'd known all her life. He was older, maybe 10 years, quiet in the way dangerous men sometimes are. He reached into his coat pocket, the soft rasp of fabric filling the silence between them. "Clara," he said, voice low, certain. "I don't want to waste time pretending this isn't what it is. I love you." Her breath caught. She thought he was joking, until she saw the small velvet box in his hand. The world seemed to still inside it, a diamond that shimmered like lightning caught in glass. She blinked, searching his face. "Ethan, we barely—" "I know," he interrupted. "But sometimes you meet someone, and every reason not to disappears." The restaurant seemed to fade, replaced by the thudding of her heart. She remembered her father's words, sharp as the whiskey he always drank. "Trust is a loaded gun. Clara, don't point it at anyone you don't truly know." But Ethan's eyes held no deceit. "Only longing, only her," she whispered. Yes, applause burst around them. A few strangers clapped, smiling as Ethan slipped the ring onto her trembling hand. Her world blurred into light, relief, and a dizzy sort of joy. Later, as they walked beneath the awning, the rain had softened into mist. Ethan pulled her close. "You won't regret this." The words should have comforted her. Instead, they hung in the air like a promise she didn't yet understand. That night, when she told her father, the phone went silent for a long, waited minute. "Ethan who?" he asked. His voice changed. Not anger, not disbelief, but something colder. "His last name, Clara. Tell me." She hesitated. "Merrick. Ethan Merrick." The sound of breaking glass echoed through the line. Her father cursed under his breath, words she'd never heard him use before. "Clara, listen to me very carefully," he said. "You're not to see that man again." She laughed nervously. "Dad, what are you talking about?" He didn't laugh back. "Ethan Merrick destroyed everything our family built. He's the reason your brother is gone." The world seemed to tip sideways. Her brother, Daniel, had died in an accident 10 years ago. At least that's what she'd always been told. The line crackled with her father's ragged breathing. "Clara," he said, voice breaking now. "He's not who you think he is." She looked down at the ring glinting on her finger, rain dripping from her sleeve. And in that moment, the night didn't feel romantic anymore. It felt like the start of something dangerous, something already set in motion long before she ever met Ethan Merrick. Clara couldn't sleep. The rain had stopped, but her mind kept replaying her father's voice, that trembling urgency beneath his words. She turned the ring on her finger, watching it catch the moonlight. How could love feel so real yet hide so much darkness behind it? The next morning, she drove to her father's house. He was sitting on the porch, eyes sunken, a whiskey glass half empty beside him. "You should have told me," she said. He looked up weary. "Told you what? That the man you love once tried to ruin me?" Clara frowned. "That sounds insane." He took a long breath. "Ethan Merrick was my partner. Years ago, we built Merrick and Dalton together, but greed does what greed always does." He met her eyes. "He framed me for embezzlement. Cost me everything. And Daniel," he broke off, gripping the edge of the chair. "Your brother found something he shouldn't have. Ethan made sure it never saw daylight." The words hit like a blow. "You're saying he killed Daniel." "I'm saying," her father said quietly, "Daniel's car didn't just lose control that night." She stepped back, dizzy. "That's impossible. Ethan isn't." But even as she said it, she remembered moments that hadn't made sense. The way Ethan avoided questions about his past, The flicker of pain when she'd mentioned her family name. "Why didn't you go to the police?" she whispered. Her father gave a bitter laugh. "You think I didn't try?" But Ethan's smart. Too smart. He covered every trail. And when I tried to dig, he made sure I'd look like the villain. Clara's throat burned. She wanted to defend Ethan, to say her father was mistaken, but the seed of doubt had already taken root. That evening, she met Ethan for dinner. He smiled when he saw her, that same calm, magnetic charm, but she noticed something new, a faint scar along his jaw, half hidden by stubble. "Rough day?" he asked gently. "You could say that," her voice trembled. "Ethan, what happened between you and my father?" His expression changed, subtly but unmistakably. Gone was the warmth. The ease, something colder flickered there. "Ah," he murmured. "So he finally told you his version." "My version," she repeated. He leaned back, eyes unreadable. "Your father wasn't the victim, Clara. He was the thief." The table felt smaller. The air heavier. "You're lying." Ethan smiled faintly. "Am I?" He reached across the table, fingers brushing hers. "Do you really think I'd hurt you? Or Daniel?" She pulled her hand back, and though his eyes were soft, something deep within them and something unspoken told her that her father's story might not be the only one with blood in it. Clara couldn't tell which story to believe. Both men claimed to be the betrayed. Both spoke like truth itself was in their keeping. She needed proof. She drove to the archives of Merrick and Dalton, now an empty office space with dust-covered desks and sun-faded plaques. Through cracked blinds, the light fell in gray stripes across the floor. She rifled through drawers until she found a box marked legal. Inside, papers, contracts, statements, a photograph of two men shaking hands. Her father and Ethan. Their smiles looked genuine. Before the war began, then she saw a letter, Daniel's handwriting. "Dad, I think Ethan's hiding something. Meet me tonight. Don't tell anyone." The date was the night Daniel died. Her hands shook. Footsteps echoed behind her. "Looking for ghosts?" She froze. Ethan stood in the doorway, sleeves rolled, eyes shadowed. "What are you doing here?" she whispered. "I could ask you the same," he said softly. "You shouldn't be digging in places meant to stay buried." "I deserve the truth," he sighed, stepping closer. "The truth is, your father stole money from our company. Millions. Daniel found out and your father panicked. The car accident, that wasn't me, Clara. It was him covering his tracks." Her pulse thudded. "That's not true." Ethan's voice lowered. "Then why do you think he drinks himself to sleep every night?" "Guilt does that to a man." For a moment the room blurred. Could her father have lied? Could love for his lost son have twisted into something darker? "Please," Ethan said, reaching for her hand. "Come with me. Leave this behind. We can start over." The air between them burned, part fear, part yearning. She wanted to believe him. But the edges of everything she knew were crumbling. He brushed her cheek. "Trust me, Clara. I've waited too long for you to see me for who I really am." The words lingered, soft, haunting. Then his phone buzzed. He looked down, frowning, before pocketing it quickly. "Who was that?" she asked. "No one." But she saw the name flash across the screen before it vanished. Dalton Sr., her father. The world tilted again. Cold realization slicing through her chest. They were still in contact. "Ethan," she said slowly, "what are you doing with my father?" He looked at her for a long time, his expression unreadable. Then, quietly, almost tenderly, and he said, "It's not what you think," but by then, she knew that every word spoken between them was a thread in a web that was finally starting to show its shape. That night, Clara drove back to her father's house. The porch light flickered in the wind. Inside, he sat in his study, head bowed over old photographs. She held up the letter. "You never told me Daniel met you the night he died." His eyes widened. "Where did you—" "I found it." In the old office. She threw it onto the table. Was Ethan right? Did you steal from him? Her father rose slowly, jaw clenched. He's poisoning you. Answer me. He slammed a fist against the desk. Yes, I took the money. But I was saving us. Ethan wanted to sell military tech to people who would use it for war. I took the funds and shut it down before he could finish. Her breath caught. The story twisted again, and Daniel, tears welled in his eyes. Daniel was helping me expose him. Ethan found out first. Clara's knees nearly buckled. You're saying Ethan killed him? Her father nodded, voice breaking. He made it look like an accident. I could never prove it. The sound of tires crunching gravel outside cut through the air. Her father's head snapped toward the window. Too late, he whispered. He's here. Ethan stepped inside without knocking. His eyes found Clara's first and then shifted to her father. So this is how it ends, he murmured. Her father reached into a drawer, revealing a pistol. Not another word. Dad, Clara cried. Ethan raised his hands slightly. You never told her what really happened, did you? Her father's voice shook with fury. You ruined my family. No, Ethan said softly. You did that the night Daniel died. You told him to meet me at the bridge, remember? Only you never showed. You left him there when the brakes failed. The gun trembled. Liar! Her father shouted, but his face had gone pale, like some part of him feared it might be true. Clara stepped between them. Stop it, both of you. For a heartbeat, all three stood frozen. Then the gun went off. The sound was deafening. Her father staggered back, clutching his shoulder, collapsing to the floor. Dad! Clara screamed, kneeling beside him. Ethan stood there, the smoking gun in his hand, disbelief flickering across his face. I didn't mean, get out! She cried, but he didn't move. His eyes, full of something that looked almost like regret, lingered. On her a final moment, then he turned and vanished into the night. Days passed in a blur of hospital, corridors and sleepless nights. Her father survived. Barely, but the bullet did more than wound him. It shattered every secret left unspoken. When he finally woke, he whispered one thing. Check the bridge. Clara drove there at dawn. Mist hung over the river, the same place where Daniel had died. She climbed down the embankment, heart hammering, until she found it. A rusted lockbox buried beneath loose stones. Inside, a flash drive. She plugged it into her laptop and Daniel's voice filled the air. Shaky but clear. If you're hearing this, he said, then something's gone wrong. Ethan's plan isn't about money. It's revenge. He blames Dad for his brother's death. A car crash years before I was born. He wants to destroy him piece by piece. And I think I'm next. The recording ended. Tears streamed down her face. Every lie, every twist snapped into place. Ethan hadn't loved her for who she was. He'd loved her because she was Dalton's daughter, the final move in a decades-old vendetta. That night, she met him one last time. He waited by the water, eyes shadowed, rain beating on his coat. You found it, he said quietly. I did, he nodded, almost relieved. Then you know why I did all this. Revenge isn't love, she said. He smiled sadly. No, but somewhere along the way it became that too. She stepped closer. Then end it. Tell the truth. He looked at her a long time, then reached into his pocket and handed her a small envelope. Everything your father needs to clear his name. Take it. Why now? Because you made me remember I'm still human, he said softly. And before she could stop him, he turned toward the bridge, toward the mist rising over the water. Ethan, wait. He glanced back once, eyes glinting with something fragile. Apology, maybe even love. Then he stepped forward and disappeared into the fog. The river below swallowed the sound. Clara stood there for a long time, rain mingling with her tears. In her hand, the envelope trembled. Proof, redemption, and ruin all at once. Months later, her father was cleared. The company rebuilt. But when she walked by the river, She sometimes thought she saw a figure in the mist, watching, waiting, keeping a promise neither of them could undo. And though she never wore the ring again, she couldn't bring herself to throw it away. Because love, even the kind born of betrayal, doesn't vanish, it just changes shape. And somewhere in that gray between truth and forgiveness, their story still lived. Thanks for watching.